Welcome back into the Rounding Third Baseball Podcast, episode 207, the Maine connection to the MLB. So, 207 is the area code for Maine. So, we're going to talk about some MLB Maine history. Since I'm from Maine, Harrison lives in Maine, thought this would be kind of a cool show to do. But first, I'm Nick, and we have Harrison. How are we doing tonight, Harrison?
Fantastic, Nick. Can't wait to get into this. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I'm excited for this too. So I had a good time kind of putting it together. But first, make sure that you follow and like us on Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can also like us on Instagram, Rumble, and TikTok, all the platforms. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We have our affiliate programs, Dick's Sporting Goods, MLB Shop, and Lids. You can find these links at the tops of all of our social media pages. You click on these links, do some shopping with these companies. With no additional cost to you, we get a nice little kickback that helps support the show. So if you are going to buy something from these companies, please use our links on our social media pages and help support the podcast. It'd be greatly appreciated. And we have our Rounding Third merch. You can find it on Rounding Third Baseball on Etsy. We have nice little tumblers. I love this thing. I bring this thing everywhere, but we have tumblers like this. There's green ones. There's blue ones. We have sweatshirts of all colors, t-shirts, glasses, a whole bunch of stuff. So give it a look and help support the podcast that way as well. All right. Before we get into the main part of the show, we will cover some league news first. And this is a big one coming out of Tampa Bay / Orlando / St. Pete Rays. Whatever. It's coming out of the Rays camp. Shane McClanahan left the spring training start with tricep soreness and will undergo additional testing. Yikes.
Yeah.
We just got back from an elbow and it was looking good. Now we got some soreness. I'm hoping it's just because we haven't pitched in a while, and he's really starting to ramp it up and get ready. And it's just, he hasn't used it in a year and a half. He's been on the shelf for a while. My question to you is, McClanahan going to be a quote unquote DeGrom?
I hope nobody else is at DeGrom. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I do feel like we're seeing a pattern here with McClanahan. And did you see him come out of the game?
No.
Yeah, so he threw the pitch and then he immediately grabbed his arm and was waving at the dugout like, somebody come out and help me. And it looked really bad when it first happened. Like, it was through the pitch, he went to turn his body, and you saw him grab his arm and wince, and then he's waving to the dugout for somebody to come out. I immediately thought he messed up his elbow again. I'm hoping it's not that. I'm hoping it is just maybe a little muscle strain or something as he's getting back up to speed, but it did not look good. And my immediate thought was, oh my goodness, he's gone for a season, or another season. But is he going to be a DeGrom? I hope not, but he is definitely showing a track record. He did it in the minors. He's doing it now. He's just not very durable. And again, another guy with incredible stuff, high velocity, not a big build, and can't absorb it. And I think we're going to see this is going to be a guy who's going to be good for a season and out for a while. Good for a season, out for a while. But I hope he's not another DeGrom.
Yeah, I'm with you because, when this dude is right, he is filthy. 2022, 12-8, 2.54 ERA. In 166 innings. He was completely dominant then. All-Star, Cy Young. He finished 6th in that voting. I think he could have finished higher. When he is right, he is tough to hit. He is a tough customer. 2023, 11-2. A little bit higher in the ERA, but 115 innings pitched, and then I think he got hurt. He was out of all of 24, and it looks like he's going to be out of for an extended period of time here in 25, depending on how serious the injury is. But
yeah, so as of a report that came out earlier today, it sounds like he's going to the IL. It is a nerve issue. Imaging showed that the injury is an inflamed nerve in his left tricep, which explains the reaction to it because the nerve obviously would cause the pain.
Right.
Yeah, inflamed nerve, left tricep. He's going to need some rest and some work to calm that nerve down. They don't have a timetable on him yet. There's more work to be done. And they are going to move ahead cautiously, knowing that it is the same arm, the same elbow.
Yeah.
He's coming back from.
I mean, what even is the timetable for an inflamed nerve? I don't think I've ever heard that one before, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately, that's something that could probably keep coming back. Right.
Well, yeah.
You get it calmed down and then you start ramping up again and then it flares up again. Like you just don't know.
Yeah, when you get
terrible.
into like muscles and nerves and things like that, like you can think it's gone, and then 2 days later, like you wake up and it's back.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no controlling that. Now, granted, these are some of the best doctors in the world that are going to figure out what to do and how to calm it, and then also how to help him kind of work around it and build it back up. But there's no timetable on it, probably because they can't put one on it.
Right.
It's going to be a day-to-day thing. How's he feeling? What are we doing? Are we seeing progress? And they're not going to rush him. It's not like the Rays sitting there like on the edge of a World Series berth. They don't have to rush this guy back out to try to save a season. Like they can just give him time and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The big trade. Nolan Jones traded to the Guardians from the Rockies for Tyler Freeman. Does this address anything the Guardians needed?
I mean, it does. It's a good move. I mean, Nolan Jones is a nice piece to add. I don't like when I look at their lineup. I don't think that he necessarily changes much of what they were going to do, anyways. I do question like where's he going to play? Like who's he playing over?
You got Quan in center. You got Noel in right, and who's their center fielder right now? I'm drawing a blank. Lane Thomas.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't. You look at the outfield and you kind of go, well, where does he play? Is he just going to be a fourth outfielder? Maybe that's all he's going to be. I mean, he's a good fourth outfielder because he'd be a starter on probably half of the teams in baseball. So it's a good move. I don't know what impact he makes. I don't know how much he actually plays.
Yeah, I wonder if he does have more. It says left fielder and first baseman.
Oh,
so we could move into the infield there, and be your starting first baseman over Carlos Santana.
Yeah, I mean, you paid Santana a decent chunk of change to come back, and you're hoping he has the same season as last year. But
he's 38.
I mean, he is, and maybe Nolan Jones is nothing more than an insurance policy if any of those four guys gets hurt, and he's just he's going to be like the Rafaela of the Guardians, play a little outfield, play a little first base, and just give a bunch of guys nights off and play 3 or 4 nights a week.
Yeah, I think he starts at first base. I would start him over Santana. And then you can put in Santana at first base if an outfielder needs a day off. That's what I would do with him. But also that's why I'm sitting here and Stephen Vogt's sitting on the bench. So who knows? But I feel like that's what I would do because I don't know if I can rely on 162 games of Carlos Santana. And what is he going to bring offensively to the plate? I don't know. I think Nolan Jones could bring you more.
I mean, Santana had a great season last year. I mean, looked like the old guy. I mean, sorry, he is an old guy. He looked like the old version of himself.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he was, not a super high batting average, but 23 and 71 and 150 games for a Minnesota team that needed somebody and won a Gold Glove. Does he replace Naylor? No, but he's not nothing. And maybe a guy like Nolan Jones can slot into that space and give you more. I mean, Jones is no slouch, and he was a Guardian already, so they know him. Jones did not have a good season last season. Had a really good year in 2023.
Yeah. So the other kind of fallout news of this that I read is the Yankees are looking to possibly pry Ryan McMahon away from the Rockies to fill their third base void. That's a rumor been floated around. I mean, and if you're the Rockies at this point, like, sure. Like, who else do you want? I know Charlie Blackmon retired, but do you want him too? I mean,
we'll happily trade him to you.
Yeah, the Rockies are in the worst division in baseball that they could possibly be in. I'm not saying the NL West is the worst division in baseball. I'm saying it's the worst division for them to be in. I think I mean, McMahon would be huge for the Yankees
He
and
would be a good pickup.
Yeah. But I mean, the Rockies have nothing to lose at this point because they're not going anywhere in that NL West.
No, I mean, you're looking up at a division where you've got the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Dodgers, who are all, super loaded, and you're just trying to exist. You don't have the money they've got. You don't have the minor league systems they've got. You got nothing. The cupboards are bare. You're just existing out there. Nolan Jones, I mean, nice piece, but again, like, he's not going to make a difference to you because you're going to stink. So let him go. But I look around the league and I go, nobody else was calling on this guy. Like, hit 20 home runs in 2023. Like, he'd be a nice addition to a number of teams, and the Guardians got him for a bag of balls.
Right. Yeah.
It's a nice piece, and if nothing else, he's an insurance piece and a flex piece that gives you some opportunities to move things around. And Stephen Vogt has proven that he can manage a lineup very well. Like, he'll know when to slot guys in and give them a breather.
My issue with the Guardians isn't necessarily the lineup. It is their starting rotation. Yes, Tanner Bibby is nice, right? But you got Bieber and you got John Means, and you don't know what you're going to get out of them. Does Bieber come back for 2 starts and end up on the shelf again?
I mean, if you got 2 starts out of Bieber, that'd be an improvement over the last couple of years.
That's what I'm saying. And then and John Means hasn't pitched in what, 3 years? I mean,
2+. I mean, it's been a while.
I mean, he came back for a little bit last season, but then went back on the shelf. I'm pretty sure.
He wasn't back for very long.
No. So, I mean, I got questions in the Guardians rotation.
All over the place.
The bullpen is insane. Like, we saw that in the playoffs. The Guardians bullpen is absolutely lights out nuts.
Yeah. John Means has made 10 starts since the end of 2021. He made 2 in 22, 4 in 23, and 4 in 24. Every time he comes back and they think he's right, he goes back out.
Yeah.
And the scary part is, like, in those starts, he's been really good. Like, last year, he made 4 starts. He was 2-0 with a 2.61 ERA in 20 innings, but was back out.
That's it. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of question marks in that rotation for the Guardians, but I think they're still going to be good. They're going to be decent. They're going to be able to compete, I think, in that AL Central. It's just a lot of question marks in that rotation for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And Edward, your comment in the chat, big Red Sox fan, what about the Dodgers super team? I mean, baseball's in a weird spot right now. The Dodgers are effectively a super team. They're going to be over $400 million in payroll this year, first time in history. Their payroll is now greater than the revenue of, what we figured out, Nick, like 21 other teams.
I think it was 19.
Yeah. So their payroll is greater than the revenue of 2/3 of the league. They're playing by different rules. And I think that is why you're starting to hear owners call for a salary cap, and you're having the league hosting extra meetings with owners to try to get geared up, and the Players Association's already digging in. The Dodgers, we may look back and figure out the Dodgers have broken baseball. And we've got to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure we will have plenty of time to talk about the lockout and all of that stuff when it happens. And we're on an 8-month break from baseball because they can't reach an agreement.
And hell, we're experiencing having a podcast for the lockout because we started this thing and they locked them out 2 months later.
Yeah.
Where we launched the show into a lockout.
Yeah. No, we started it during the lockout. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. All right. Alejandro Kirk signs a 5-year, $58 million extension with the Blue Jays. Where does Kirk stand amongst the other catchers in the league for you, Harrison?
I mean, if you asked me 2 years ago, he was arguably one of the better offensive catchers in the league. The last couple of years have been a little rougher. And I don't think he's been fully healthy, and he has questions about his conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. He's a stocky dude. But when he's right, offensively, there's probably only a few catchers better than him. He's a line drive gap hitter. He's got some power. Defensively, he's good. He's not necessarily great, but he's good. But the guy can hit. And last year, he played just over 100 games and struggled. Like, he just never seemed to get it going. But he was dealing with some injuries. He was a little bit banged up. Never really got right. But I think when healthy, he is a very, very effective offensive catcher. He's also a serviceable defensive catcher.
Yeah.
So I put him in kind of that upper third of guys that are, granted, it's a low bar for catcher because a lot of the catchers are not very good or they're very much one-dimensional. I think he's in that, upper half, upper third. He's a better than average catcher.
So what's it break down to? 11 and a half a year, roughly?
Yep, roughly.
I mean, I don't know if I would have extended him for 5 years. That's quite a while to be sitting on that if he comes out and has another down year, which is followed by another down year. And now you're sitting with 3 more years on that contract being like, oh, this is dead money. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, you are hoping that he returns to the guy that he was a couple years ago, because he's been declining a little bit. I will say he's only 26. It's he's got time. There's nothing working against him here. He just has to show up and play.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Skane's rookie card was sold. $1.1 million. Absolutely insane for a baseball card. I know we talked about it last week about the gold patches that they're now putting on the award winners now. So Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and then MVPs are going to be wearing kind of like this MLB debut patch, but they'll have them on all the award winners. And then at the end of the season, those will go into cards. So Ohtani and Judge, I mean, when those patches come off and get put into a pack of cards, with them selling like this, it's going to be an absolute frenzy to get the Topps cards at the end of the season. I mean, 1.1 million. Wild.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I just linked to that article in the chat where they're putting those gold logo patches on the jerseys, because those are going to be one of one patch signature cards just like this, with the previous season's award winners. That will be bananas what people will do to get their hands on those.
I mean, Ohtani's going to start at 1.5 million. There's no way an opening bid is going to be as quote unquote low as Skane's was at, what was it, 504? I think it opened up at.
Yeah, something like that.
Crazy.
It's a baseball card from a guy who's made 20 career starts. Like that's a whole nother level of speculating, if you ask me. But this card is probably only going to go up in value fast. And then these other patch cards are going to be bananas. People are going to be fighting in the aisles for packs.
Yeah, that's wild. All right. Yeah, the kid sold it. Yep. All right. So Nationals drop.
Yes. So not only did the kid sell it, he also gave all the money to the fire relief in LA. So the kid didn't even keep the money, which, I mean, good on him. Holy cow.
Tell me you're loaded without telling me you're loaded. All right. Anyways.
I mean, there's that angle too.
Yeah. All right. Nationals dropped their new City Connect. So Astros did last week. Nationals came out with these. I don't mind these. They're different color blue. They still have like the cherry blossoms kind of on each side of the W there. There is some print on the jersey. I can't really make it out, but this was the best picture I could find of them, because they just released them like an hour before we came on. But I like how they're just simple. It's just the DC. I kind of like them. Yeah,
and all the markings on it. It's supposed to represent the street grid of DC.
Gotcha.
When everything kind of funnels into the middle. So it's. I mean, again, they're a little much in terms of color and design for me, but I think they're nice because at least they tie in the city better. Granted, I get the cherry blossoms, like that makes a lot of sense. But I think it's a simpler jersey. It feels more like something you'd actually see on a Major League Baseball field, and it has the connection back to the city, which to me is what this program is all about. It wasn't about creating these ludicrous uniforms that they have. It was about creating a nice, very wearable, professional-looking uniform that had a connection to the city.
Yeah, not the outrageous ones that they kind of threw out last year. I mean, there were a few that I liked.
Yeah, there were some. I mean, there were a few. There were also plenty that were just downright hideous.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I was really happy when the program was over, and then they came right around and said, "Hey, we're going to do more of these." It's like, oh, awesome.
Yep.
Not.
Yep. No. All right. Let's get into the 207 part of the show here. So this is episode 207. Maine's area code is 207. So I threw the idea to Harrison. I was like, hey, why don't we do like a Maine show where like connections from people from Maine to the MLB? So I've kind of put together a little bit of history of the players, which we'll get to it at the end. I'll show you exactly how many people have made the MLB from Maine. It's not a whole lot, but thought it'd be kind of cool. So
yeah, this is cool.
I'm going to start off with the ballpark in Old Orchard Beach. So this is in southern Maine. It opened in 1984, and this was a AAA field. Like that team was a AAA team. So they were called the Maine Guides, and they threw out a whole contest at that time to come up with different names for the team. And there are other names considered: the Schooners, the Beacons, Sails, Vacationers, kind of lame, Coasters, also lame,
Yeah.
and Deer. I mean, Deer's kind of brutal. That's brutal. But
no Moose.
I know that one's actually kind of shocking, but
yeah, that's right.
These were the top ones. So yeah, they weren't a team there for long. But they were the AAA affiliate of the Cleveland Indians at the time. So this ballpark still stands today, and Southern Maine Men's Baseball League, and there's college leagues and stuff that still play there. The biggest thing with this, as you can see in the picture, there wasn't a ton of seating. Like it was first base to third base, that was it. And for a AAA team, it wasn't drawing. Well, obviously, there's 500 seats there. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So they did not stay there long. But in their short history, they had a lot of players that went through there. So here are some of them that went through there at the ballpark. They either were on the Maine Guides or they just played a few games there, series there. So Cecil Fielder, Mike Greenwell, Fred McGriff all saw time there. So Hall of Famer Fred McGriff played at the ballpark on their way to the show.
Those guys are pretty good.
Yeah, they were all right. And then we have some more here. Kevin Mitchell and good old Kirby Puckett.
Oh,
so there's a chance that people in Maine saw Kirby Puckett play in Maine, which is pretty cool.
Is this the same Kevin Mitchell that caught the ball barehanded?
Yes, it is. For sure. Yeah, that play's still crazy.
That's nuts.
But, yeah.
I mean, I would have loved to have seen Kirby Puckett early in his career. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. All right. So these next few slides are players, famous-ish players that have come up through Maine, lived in Maine, or have ties to Maine in some way, shape, or form. So Luis Sockalexis. A lot of people around MLB has heard this name thrown out. He's identified as the first Native American to ever play in the league. It's not officially listed that because they didn't really keep track of it at that time. And there's rumors saying that he might not have been. But he is also the reason they were called the Cleveland Indians after his time. So he joined them when they were the Cleveland Spiders. So he had a short career. It was like 2-year career, but he batted .313, 3 home runs, 55 RBIs, 16 stolen bases. Didn't set the world on fire offensively. But the story behind him was when he was playing the outfield early in his career, you know, the fans there wasn't really a fence. Like the fans kind of made the fence. And after a game, the fans picked him up. He made like a game-winning catch. The fans picked him up, carried him to a bar, and he got hooked on alcohol. And he was an alcoholic, and that kind of just took his way out of the game pretty soon after that. But they said defensively, he was probably the best defensive player of that time. Just the stories that came out about him, his arm, his glove, his range was something that people hadn't seen at that time. But yeah, so some pretty cool history there. Why don't we have a younger photo of him? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so pretty cool there. And he's a Maine legend just because of his whole backstory. Like from the reservation in Old Town, Maine, Penobscot Indian, and all of that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, in Old Town, you're getting up into the just north of the center of the state, starting to
Yep.
get a little cold up there.
Oh yeah. All right. Can't really mention Maine major leaguers without mentioning Mike Bordick. He attended the University of Maine. His career stats in the MLB: 260, 91 home runs, 626 RBIs. Played for the Athletics, Orioles, Mets, and Blue Jays. He had an All-Star appearance in 2000, and he is a member of the Orioles Hall of Fame. So whenever Maine baseball is mentioned, Mike Bordick's name always comes up. Like, he was such a staple in the middle infield during the 90s there. And he was everywhere. And he was great defensively.
He was solid. He was solid and consistent.
Yep. But absolute Maine baseball legend for sure. Mike Bordick. And doing this research, I didn't know that he was an Orioles Hall of Fame member until I saw it. So that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't think I realized he was a Hall of Fame member either.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that he's back. He visits often, and he's been recognized in their museum. Didn't realize he was a Hall of Fame member.
Yeah. All right. And then hand in hand, it's Billy Swift, Mike Bordick. Came out of South Portland, Maine, played from 1985 to 98 for the Mariners, Giants, and Rockies. He threw the first pitch ever at Coors Field. So he was the opening day starter for the Rockies when they opened their ballpark and had the expansion team. His career stats: 94 and 78 with a 3.95 ERA, 11,599 innings pitched. I think that's a typo. It's supposed to be 1,000. But anyways, 700. He didn't pitch 11,000 innings.
That'd be amazing if he did.
Yeah, that's definitely a typo. My bad. 767 Ks. He finished second in the Cy Young voting in 93. So, but again, Maine baseball, it's Billy Swift, it's Mike Bordick, it's these two guys. So,
yeah, and Billy Swift for a few years was like one of the elite pitchers in baseball. And then kind of took him a little while to get there. He peaked and then he fell off. But overall, over the course of his career, had a pretty good major league career.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty solid pitcher. All right. Charlie Furbush. So I actually have a personal connection with Charlie Furbush. So does Harrison here. He started at D3 St. Joseph's College of Maine. That's where Harrison and I went to college. I was, I think, 2 years ahead of Charlie. And he came in as a freshman, and he's 6'4", 6'5", tall, lanky lefty. And he's just throwing gas, and he is just blowing away Division III hitters. Like, it's not even a contest. He just fastball, changeup all day long. No one could touch him. So he goes down to the Cape Cod Leagues that summer and starts the All-Star game as a freshman. And that's when everyone starts looking at him like, well, this kid's legit. Like, he's going to go somewhere. He transferred to LSU right after that, finished his career there, and then drafted by the Tigers in 2007. And then was traded to the Seattle Mariners. And he was there for a short amount of time. I think he had a shoulder issue and ended up kind of retiring and hanging it up. But my claim to fame, one of my claim to fames is I got a hit off him in inter squad game. So, and I did take him deep in high school, but he wasn't throwing 93, 94 in high school. When he got to college, something just clicked and he was just throwing gas. It was insane. But pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, and again, like just a nice humble kid. Yeah. Had great skills, just showed up at the ballpark, played every day. And the Seattle fan base kind of adopted him and embraced him when he came over. He's still in that area, still doing stuff with that. He was doing stuff with the organization until just a couple years ago when he stepped out and did something else, but still deep ties to that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Ryan Flaherty. He's from Portland, Maine. Played from 2012, 2019 for the Orioles, Braves, and Indians. He is now, I think, still currently a bench coach for the Padres. I think he's out in San Diego now.
Yeah, San Diego.
Yep. Career stats: 215 batting average, 37 home runs, 142 RBIs, 284 hits.
Oh no, sorry, Cubs. He's with the Cubs.
I was with the Cubs now.
That's right. He moved over to the Cubs last year.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, so he's still around the game today, coaching. He was 4 years behind me, but I remember playing him as a senior, and he was just raking at 14 years old. It was absolutely insane. And his father is actually very famous. I would say nationally recognized coach in Ed Flaherty. Has taken USM, University of Southern Maine, to many College World Series. And that's a premier D3 program in the country, not just Maine or New England, like the country.
Yeah, it's produced a lot. It's produced a fair number of major league draftees from that program.
Yes. So it just goes to show, like, it doesn't matter what division baseball you play. If you're good enough, you will be recognized.
Yeah. I think the one thing with like Maine baseball, I didn't grow up in Maine, but I grew up in New Hampshire, which isn't that far away. And when you're in these cold weather climates, you don't have the advantage of being a kid from Florida who can go play 12 months out of the year. Like we spent a lot of our winter in batting cages, in basically warehouse type facilities, trying to play baseball inside.
Yeah.
We did it. And, in some cases we were able to have some success and go on to do things, but like, it is harder to come out of the Northeast, to come out of New England, because you don't have the benefit of what the kids in the South have, which is weather.
Yeah.
We don't get it.
Flaherty did go to Vanderbilt, and the Vanderbilt coach is very outspoken when he talks about guys that play baseball in New England. He goes, listen, if you've ever been up there and see the conditions that these guys have to play in, he's like, it makes them tougher. And I want those tough guys on my team. So
yeah, it is. You see these kids come out of New England and it's a much, much harder path. You have to go find the opportunities, because a lot of the season you don't have things available to you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And Stump Merrill from Brunswick, Maine. So he managed the Yankees from 1990 to 1991. He compiled a 120 and 155 win-loss record over those 2 years, which is probably why he only managed the Yankees for 2 years. And I did look it up. He's got 6 career rejections as a manager, because as a manager, that's the most important stat. Let's be honest.
That's what people came to see.
Yeah. So he's an absolute coaching legend. I've had the opportunity to meet Stump Merrill at a coaching convention. I went with Coach Sanborn from St. Joe's. He was like teaching a pitching clinic, and I was up there as like his model as he was walking through. Not like model, like I'm not that good looking, but maybe I am, but I don't know. Anyways,
you were the example.
Yeah. So I actually got to talk to Stump a little bit and pick his ear, but it was pretty cool. But yeah, another Maine legend when you talk about MLB players and from Maine. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it is, right? Manager ejections has got to be the best stat. I mean, yeah. So that's why we love Aaron Boone so much. He's up at what, 38? He's got to be getting close. I mean,
he's working his way up there for sure.
He's not 162 like Bobby Cox, but we'll get there. Give him the rest of this year. So, and to kind of round out how like crazy this stat is for me, and the sheer number, not sheer numbers, but not a lot of numbers that come out of Maine. Less than half of 1% of Major League Baseball players have come out of Maine. So 78 batters, 39 pitchers, 6 managers. That's it. I mean, not a lot of, and that's over what, 150 years of Major League Baseball. It's not a lot of talent to come out of out of the state of Maine.
No, not a lot,
but still pretty cool. So yeah, that is the quick rundown of Maine 207. So
the 207 during episode 207.
Yep. All right. MLB trivia, Harrison. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. What current MLB player shares his initials with MLB?
MLB. So let's see if I can find an MB first and then connect a middle name. I mentioned him earlier. Mookie Betts.
It is. It's Marcus Lynn Betts. Yes, Marcus Lynn Betts.
Right. Marcus, not Mookie. Sorry.
Yeah, well, same thing. Whatever. Marcus Lynn Betts. All right. Next one. What former Brewers, Tigers, and Rangers slugger has more inside the park home runs than Ricky Henderson?
I mean, that's pretty impressive because you'd think Ricky with his speed would have a bunch of them. Although inside the park home runs are hard. So Brewers, Tigers, Rangers. Slugger. I mean, the only guy that comes to mind with that career path is Prince.
It is Prince Fielder. With two. With two.
Two. Wow. So Ricky's got less than two. So call it probably one.
He's got one.
Wow.
Yeah. Hang on to this thought, Mike, because we can bring this up after we do trivia because
we'll come back.
We're not thrilled with this class either.
No, we are with you.
Yeah.
We are very much with you.
Hang on to that thought for sure. All right. Which pitcher struck out Tony Gwynn the most in their career?
This has got to be a guy like Maddox, Glavine, a Moyer. It's got to be like a location guy.
Nope, it is not a location guy.
It is not a location guy. Okay. I mean, there weren't a lot of guys that could throw the ball by Tony Gwynn or fool him.
Oh, there was one.
That could throw. Oh, is it Nolan?
It is Nolan Ryan. Can you even guess on how many times it's stupid low?
Like 5?
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. 9 times in 67 plate appearances.
That's actually probably like a high ratio. Wasn't it like Smoltz, Maddox, and Pedro like 300 plus at bats and like 3 Ks?
Yeah. Randy Johnson's a good guess. Yeah,
that is a good one.
Yeah. I think the next highest was 4.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Nobody struck out. Tony Gwynn didn't strike out because he didn't want to. He didn't have he just was in full control.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Yeah, 9 times, 67 plate appearances.
Dear God.
Yeah, silly.
That is silly.
All right. This father-son combination had complete polar opposite careers. The father had 5,814 at-bats without being in the World Series, while his son's first MLB at-bat was in the World Series. Who were they?
Ooh. First MLB bat was in the World Series. Oh boy. Is the color a hint? Like, is this the Royals color? It's like 2015.
Yeah.
Is this the Mondesies?
It is the Mondesies. Good. Yeah. Raul and Adalberto Mondesi.
Yeah, because I remember him coming up during it because they're excited to unveil this kid, but
yeah, and he had like 150 like speed rating on the show. Like this dude could fly.
Oh, he could run so fast.
Yeah. Biggio's wasn't a bad guess, but Cavan and the Blue Jays never made it to the World Series. But yeah, crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah. All right. Who has the second lowest ERA of players that also have 700 plus career home runs?
Okay, so there's 4 700 home run guys: Bonds, Aaron, Ruth, and Pujols. I don't think Bonds or Aaron ever pitched, so I think it has to be Pujols.
It is Albert Pujols with 36. So late in his career, he came in for that one. I can't remember if it was towards the end of the season.
Yep.
Cardinals were getting spanked. Albert came in, gave up 4 runs, but
Wasn't one of those like a big home run too? Didn't he go bomb to somebody?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, he did, because then it was like, oh, I homered off a Hall of Famer. That
Yeah,
was his
that's right.
thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah,
And
36
like,
ERA.
and he was loving every minute of that. Like,
Oh yeah.
just typical Albert Pujols. Like, that guy was just loved being out there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Who robbed the home run to save Mark Burley's perfect game?
I will never forget the answer to this question. It is Dwayne Wise, who had gone in just specifically to be a defensive specialist to help protect it.
Yes. And this has got to be up there with one of the best catches in Major League history, just because of that catch, the weight of the game and what that catch meant. But not only that, is he, as you can see in the picture, he kind of snow cones it. The force of the wall jars the ball out. So as he's falling back onto the field, he's juggling it and still somehow hangs on for the catch to preserve the perfect game. Absolutely insane.
It was. I mean, I remember him going up and like, "Oh my god, he's got it!" And then it pops out. You're like, "Oh no, it's gonna hit the ground!" Then he saves it. It was like a roller coaster ride, that catch.
So I don't know how or when, but I was listening to it on the radio, and it was just, I mean, the announcers were coming unglued. You couldn't understand a word coming out of their mouth because they were just like, "What just happened?" It was just like, it was mass chaos.
It was nuts.
But you think about like every perfect game and no hitter, like there's always one defensive play in that game that is so outrageous that you're like, okay, now it's just going to happen. Like, and that was that one.
And was it Gabe Kapler that hit that? Is that who hit the ball?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Gabe Kapler. That's right. All right. What is the minimum amount of pitches that can be thrown to record a pitching win?
I mean, in theory, couldn't you throw as few as one? If you came in and rolled a double play to end an inning, like at the end.
It's not one.
I mean, is there I guess there's just, if you want to go crazy, isn't there a scenario you could throw none and get a win?
It is 0. It happened last year.
Oh, that's right.
Sean Newcomb, who's also now a Boston Red Sox, of the A's, came in the game with 2 outs and picked the runner off from first base to end the inning. The A's then took the lead in the bottom half and won the game.
I forgot about that one.
So he got the win out of the bullpen with no pitches thrown, no batters faced. Pretty crazy. So
how do you fill out that stat line?
Yeah,
right. You get the win with 0 innings pitched.
0 runs, 0 hits. I think you'd still get
you still get the third of an inning, but just didn't throw any pitches.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yep. All right. What is the least amount of pitches that can be thrown to set down an inning?
So you're talking to get all 3 outs?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you got to face at least 3 batters, so you got to throw 3, right?
No. This one's a little bit of a thinker.
I guess, could you do 2 if it's an extra innings and there's a guy standing at second base to start the inning?
You can do it in less.
Oh, really?
With think about the 2 new rules that they put in.
Oh, right.
So second base is 1.
Second base is 1. I'm trying to think how you'd piece that together in fewer pitches. All right, break it down.
You can intentionally walk the next batter without a pitch thrown.
There's no pitches.
And then a triple play. So 1 to get all 3 outs in an inning. This has to be an extra innings.
Yeah, and I guess you could pitch clock violation 4 times too. And
yep.
But yeah, I guess you could go through in second. You could put somebody on, and then turn a triple play.
Yep. Yeah. Or this, you could put 2 intentionals either way, right? Yep. So any way you can get 2 runners on base without a pitch thrown.
Oh man.
Yep. And then hit into a triple play.
Fair.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I still can't get over the fact that intentional walk is no pitches. Like that
Right.
bugs me.
Yeah. Who are the first two players to amass 2,500 career hits, 400 career steals, 500 career doubles, 100 career triples, and 200 career home runs?
I mean, is Ricky one of them?
Ricky is not one of them.
I feel like he's the answer to everything.
Right.
All right. 2,500 career hits, 400 steals. The steals is the hard part.
Mhm.
Who would have enough steals? Triples, home runs. Okay. Is this blue giving me a hint? Is it a Royal?
Yep. Was at one point.
So Brett wouldn't have stolen that many bases.
Nope.
A guy like Damon didn't get that many hits.
Yes,
Did
he did. Johnny Damon is
Okay.
one.
So Johnny Damon.
The other one is a Hall of Famer. And we talk about him not being like kind of being underappreciated as a Hall of Famer, but was really good in the 80s and 90s for a couple different teams. The Twins, the Blue Jays, the Brewers. Not Ichiro. That's a good guess.
That is a good one. Underappreciated. It's like not like a Yount or a Molitor. A Molitor?
Yes, it's Paul Molitor. Yes. I that might be that might be a personal opinion, but I think Paul Molitor is completely undervalued at how good this dude was.
Well, I think he's like that generation's Jose Ramirez. Like every year he put up good numbers, and everybody's like, "Oh, like you almost become a victim of your own success because people just expect it."
Yeah, but they're the first two to do it. I don't know if anyone's done it since, but they're the first two to amass those numbers, all those numbers. 100 career triples is also, a ways up there as well. So
yeah, I mean, 400 steals and 100 career triples. That's a small club that's
yeah.
that's in those two categories.
Yes, absolutely. All right. There has only been one walk-off walk in MLB postseason history. Who walked who to give the Braves a 10-9 win over the Mets in October of 1999?
Oh my goodness. 99. So who was on that Mets? That must have been late in the game. So you're probably talking bullpen guys like a John Franco.
Nope, that's a good guess. It is a lefty, but he was mostly a starter. You wouldn't really think of him as a reliever.
Like a Mulholland, or they had a bunch of those guys roll through there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think who was on that 99 staff.
You probably think of him more as a Ranger, Texas Rangers.
As a Ranger?
He was like Rangers for most of his career.
But a starter.
Yeah. And I think the only reason this guy was in the game because it was extra innings.
Probably. Okay. Left-handed starter, mostly with the Rangers. I mean, from that time period, like the only guy I think of is Kenny Rogers.
It is Kenny Rogers. And who did he walk?
So in 99, was it Chipper?
Oh, wrong Jones.
Was it Andrew?
Oh, yeah. So
was Andrew like 7 years old during this at bat?
Yeah, I think he had just had his 8th birthday, to be honest. But yeah. Yeah, Kenny Rogers walked Andrew Jones.
I forgot about Kenny Rogers with the Mets.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm thinking the only reason he was in that game is because it was extra innings. And
yeah, he was the next guy up. You needed arms.
Yep. So, okay. Who is the only starting pitcher to have double the strikeouts than hits allowed in a single season?
Oh, wow. So double the strikeouts of hits they allowed. That's a lot. Is this like an obvious one?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Is this like a DeGrom?
Nope. Before him.
Like a Randy?
Nope. A little around his time.
Is the white a hint? Is it a White Sox?
No, the white and red.
The white and the red. Okay. Who struck out a ton of guys in that time frame?
I mean, come on, Harrison.
Is this a Pedro?
It is Pedro, yeah.
I feel like that was like an obvious one, but
284 Ks, only
Lord.
gave up 128 hits that year.
Is this 99?
It's wild. That was 2000, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, his numbers were actually almost better in 2000 than they were in 99.
Yeah, in 2000 was amazing.
Which is saying something because 99 was downright filthy. But
so I mean those were two of I mean, aside from Gibson 68, like those might be two of the best single seasons and pitchers had.
Yeah.
Randy's 400 plus Ks, Gibson 68, and Pedro's back-to-back years.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy, Edward, is a guy to keep an eye on. The switch pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He throws 90 plus from both sides. Very effective.
Is it Centilli? Is that how you say it?
Centilli? I don't know. I look at his name and it's just too many vowels. It's too many consonants and my brain explodes.
Yep.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I think it's Centilli. I could be wrong.
It's something like that. It's not pronounced at all the way it looks.
I was not a linguistics major. As you guys can probably tell if you watch the show, I trip over my words all the time. So yeah.
I look at that last name and my brain just melts trying to pronounce it.
So it's actually pretty cool because who was it a few years ago? Pat Venditti, who could throw with both?
Yes.
Because in spring training, they had him bat against, I want to say it was like Jimmy Rollins or something like that. And he was like, I'm going to throw lefty. So Rollins came up righty. And then he goes, oh, no, I'm going to pitch righty. And Rollins went back to the dugout, came back, and then got up lefty. And he goes, oh, no, I'm pitching lefty. So then they had to make the rule where the pitcher had to declare what arm they're going to throw with that at bat. So
I remember that. Like there's the back and forth, and they're both like, what are we going to do? Like, what are we supposed to do here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to pitch. I want him to pick so I can pitch what I'm going to pitch with.
Right. So but it's pretty cool to watch him throw like decent with both arms. Like he's touching 90 on both sides. I think.
He's 92 from the right and 95 from the left. I think like it's crazy. And it's cool watching him like when he warms up before the inning starts because he's like right-handed 2 pitches and flips the glove, left-handed 2 pitches, flips the glove. Then that's how he gets warm. Then when a batter comes up, he looks at what they're going to do, switches the glove, and goes. Yeah, it's wild.
That's going to be an expensive Tommy John.
Well, the nice thing is when your right arm goes, you just go left-handed for that season when you heal the right hand.
Oh, that's true.
And then when the left hand goes, you go back to being righty.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like, oh, that elbow's gone. Fine, I got a second one.
Yeah, right. Crazy. All right, that will do it for trivia today.
Oh man, good stuff.
But I do, I want to go back to that Hall of Fame class of 2026. Like, let's revisit this because we have talked about this. And the class is not strong.
Like, we talking the whole ballot or just new additions?
Well, I mean, we can bring up the whole ballot, but I think the new additions is not
underwhelming.
Yeah, we came to the conclusion that Cole Hamels is the best one out of that. Yeah, of that bunch.
Yeah, so I think the people worth noting, you have Cole Hamels and Ryan Braun are kind of at the top of the ticket, and then you've got Shin-Soo Choo, Edwin Encarnacion, Alex Gordon, Matt Kemp, Nick Markakis, Hunter Pence. And then aside from that group, you got Manny Ramirez, who's about to fall off the ballot. But your new additions, I mean, of that group, I think Cole Hamels is the only guy with a shot. And I don't think Cole Hamels necessarily has like the most compelling case to be a Hall of Famer.
No, but what I think it does is I think it finally gets Andrew Jones into the Hall.
Yeah.
At least I hope. Like a lot of people are really divided on this, and I
know I'm surprised. There's a lot of people that really don't want to see him in there, and I don't get it.
I think it's honestly they just see his batting average.
I mean, there's only 3 guys.
That's the only thing that they're looking at.
There's only 3 guys in history with 10 plus Gold Gloves and 400 home runs. It's Ken Griffey Jr., Mickey Mantle, and him.
Right.
Like that is an incredibly select company. And those other 2 guys were like no brainers.
Right. Now,
like I get the batting average is low, but the dude did some damage.
But he still doesn't have the lowest batting average that's in the Hall of Fame. And there are guys that are in there for their defense alone.
Yep.
Right? Ozzie Smith, he didn't have great offensive numbers. And then we can get into the Omar Vizquel debate too, because I think he should be in just because of defense. That guy did with a glove is unbelievable.
Well, not to mention the fact that Omar Vizquel's numbers are better than Ozzie Smith's in every single offensive category.
Right.
And he's only got 1 less Gold Glove. And Omar Vizquel's almost a 3,000 hit guy.
Yeah.
He was 2,700 plus hits, or maybe even 2,800 plus. I can't remember. I have to look it up. But like Omar Vizquel's candidacy for the Hall of Fame to me seems very obvious. and yet he gets no traction.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think this weak ballot is going to give guys like Beltran, Vizquel, Andrew Jones the boost they need to make a better case, make a better run at it.
Do you think Beltran gets in? I mean, again, career-wise, I think Beltran's a Hall of Famer.
I agree.
But we have the scandal hanging over our head. And for whatever reason, this dude is the blacklisted out of the whole entire thing, right? Cora and Hinch got a 1-year suspension, and then they both have jobs.
Yep.
And it just seems like Beltran got the absolute hose. Was he the guy that was orchestrating it all, maybe? And we just don't know that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough for me to understand like where this is coming from, because I get the whole situation and he was involved, yes. But at the same time, like, he's the only guy paying for it. AJ Hinch, 1-year suspension, back managing. Alex Cora, 1-year suspension, back managing. Beltran got immediately fired, basically had to step down from the job he had just accepted with the Mets. And he's never even gotten another interview. Like, he's been basically blacklisted. And he's the only guy I feel like that's really paid for what happened. Bregman just got paid. Altuve's still out there. All these guys that were involved are all still around, except Beltran.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was close last year, and I think people are going to have to just get over it and realize the fact, like, you can't ignore the fact that he was a Hall of Famer.
The website I was just looking at says that he is in. Like, he's the first one to get in.
I have to imagine he was close this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't think he'd get that close this year, and he was close. He was in range.
Yeah. We are going to talk about it with Nostalgic Baseball Geezer at some point. Yep. Is he's broke down the Veterans Committee votes for this upcoming year, and there's a lot of names on that they only get to select 3, which I think is an absolute crime, because I think all of them should get in. Everybody that is up for the Veterans Committee, I think, are Hall of Famers, and it's crazy that only 3 of them can go. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Maybe the Hall of Fame looks at it and be like, hey, like, we have no inductees this year. Let's up it to 5. Let's, I don't know.
And I would think that the intent of the Veterans Committee is to kind of right the wrong of the voters and catch the guys that got skipped and shouldn't have. I think they should be allowed to elect as many as they see fit based on who's coming off. Now, I will say they're not looking at only guys like just fell off the ballot. They're also going back into history. It's like you had like Dave Parker went in this year. Yeah. He hasn't been on a Hall of Fame ballot in a long time.
Right.
But through a lot of people asking and petitioning and requesting, and he ended up in the front of the Veterans Committee.
Yeah.
So like, it's not just guys that just fell off the ballot, but I do think the Veterans Committee should be allowed to look and say, hey, we see all these guys that got hosed, and we should bring them up for discussion and a vote.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got Lou Whitaker in there. You got Dwight Evans, Don Mattingly, Daniel Murphy. Not Daniel Murphy. Sorry. David Murphy.
Yeah. I knew where you were going.
Goodness. Keith Hernandez, Jeff Kent, Kenny Lofton. Now, yeah, I mean, Kurt Schilling is also there. He's not going to get in because of character clause, which that's a whole other argument.
Well, but he just wasn't a likable guy. People just don't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a kind of a shaky track record and people don't like him. But I do have the next few ballots up, Nick, if you want to run through some who's coming in the pipeline.
All right, let's see it. 2027.
So, 2027 ballot. The top first-time candidates are Buster Posey and John Lester. I think John Lester is going to have a tough time getting in. I think Buster Posey, as good as he was for the time period, the career is just so short.
Yeah. But he was the premier catcher
he was the guy
that time. John, I'm with you here. I like Jeff Kent, and 6 straight 100 RBI seasons for a second baseman has never been done except for Jeff Kent. I mean, he was one of the best second basemen, if not the best second baseman of that era, for sure.
He changed that position. It was never seen as an offensive position. He changed that perspective.
Yeah. See, I agree. I think John Lester had a fantastic career. He was a monster some years. And the definition of consistency. 200 career wins, though, on the dot, I think, right?
Yep, 200 on the dot.
200 on the dot.
Career record of 201-17 with a 3.66 ERA.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't
he's
know.
Like he's like the ultimate bubble guy.
Yeah. I don't know if those are Hall of Fame numbers. Red Sox Hall of Fame, yes. But actual Hall of Fame, it would be tough for me. As a Red Sox fan, it's still tough for me to kind of defend that one.
Yeah, well, and it's hard too. He was a 5-time All-Star in 16 years, and finished in the top 5 of the Cy Young voting 3 times in 16 years. So, a guy who had a few good years and then a bunch of kind of meh years.
Yeah.
43.4 career WAR. Nothing about his stat line. Now, granted, the personal story, coming back from cancer and all the big games he pitched, like, set that aside for a minute. His stat line alone makes you kind of go, yeah, he was a good pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. His backstory is amazing. It's pretty cool. That would be awesome to read on a plaque, right?
Yeah.
A guy that beat cancer, came back, and had the career he did does make it pretty impressive. Call me crazy, but is Kent a top 5 second baseman of all time?
Boy.
Of all time?
I mean,
you got Morgan, Carew, Rogers Hornsby.
I was gonna say you. The problem is so many of those guys
all time.
You almost have to break Kent into a separate category. Is he top 5 second baseman of the last 50 years? Probably. But when you go back further than that, like he's going to run into so many guys that would get so much more.
Consideration.
Consideration, or just had so much, had way deeper careers. Kent was a one-tool guy. He was a hitter. His defense was average on his best days. But I mean, you look at, Joe Morgan, Ryan Sandberg, Rogers Hornsby, like you keep going back, you're going to keep finding guys. Carew.
I mean, 55.5 career WAR, 377 homers, 290 batting average. I mean, he won the MVP in 2001.
Yeah, how many Gold Gloves?
You
know the answer.
Yeah, I just said it.
None.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I think Kent is a probably a top 5 second baseman of the last 30 or 40 years. I don't think you can go back any farther than that because he runs into much stiffer competition. But, if you ask me, is he a top 10 second baseman all time? I'd probably say, yeah, he might be number 10.
I mean, Jackie Robinson, Biggio, Nap Joy.
I mean, could you make an argument that he's a top 10 all time? You probably could. For top 5, no.
Roberto Alomar.
Yeah, Robbie Alomar, my goodness.
Yeah. So this list has Hornsby 1, Robinson 2, Morgan 3, LaJoy 4, Carew 5, Alomar 6, Eddie Collins 7.
Oh, Eddie Collins, forgot about that.
Ryan Sandberg 8, Charlie Gehringer 9.
Gehringer's a good one.
And I don't like the number 10. I'm not even gonna.
Who's at 10? Is it Robbie Cano?
It is Robinson Cano. Yeah.
Robinson Cano at his peak was absolutely elite. But the fall was also significant.
Yeah.
All right. So 2027 ballot. So Posey and Lester headline it. You also have Jay Bruce, Brett Gardner, Kyle Seager, Ryan Zimmerman, and Jordan Zimmerman.
Yuck.
Yeah, not exciting. I mean, Brett Gardner's got the best stat line of the group because he played for so long. Did you know that Gardner's got a career 44.3 WAR?
I did not know that.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, Ryan Zimmerman probably would have been a Hall of Famer if not for the fact that his career just declined fast. All right, so 2028 ballot. Here you go, Nick. 2028 ballot. Your headliners are Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina.
Neither get in.
Yeah, just stamp those now.
Yep.
Other notable first timers: Cano, David Price, Steven Strasburg, Lorenzo Cain, Andrelton Simmons, and Justin Upton. So I think Cano's numbers would give him consideration, but the ped suspensions are going to be a problem. Price and Strasburg just didn't put up the numbers. So I think that's a tough one.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Zimmerman's Mr. National for sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should name the ballpark after him. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
This is a good one, Nick. 2029. Your headliners are Miguel Cabrera, Zach Greinke, Joey Votto.
Hold on. What was the first one?
Miguel Cabrera.
Oh, absolute not.
Yeah. Yeah.
3,000 hits, 500 homers. Definitely not getting in.
Pass.
And then what? Zach Greinke?
Yeah. So Miguel Cabrera, Zach Greinke, and Joey Votto are your headliners for the 2029 ballot.
Zach Greinke's an interesting one.
He's interesting is absolutely how I describe him. So, but here's some other notable first timers. So you pull that up. Other notable first timers are Adam Wainwright, Evan Longoria, Madison Bumgarner, Nelson Cruz, Michael Brantley, Josh Donaldson, Corey Kluber, and Elvis Andrus.
Nelson Cruz is an interesting one.
I know. I think that 2029 ballot is really interesting.
Yeah. Zach Greinke, 77.4 WAR, 225, 150. He's in. 3,000 innings pitched, almost 3,000. Zach Greinke's a Hall of Famer. He's got a Cy Young. Yeah, I think Zach Greinke's in. He pitched for freaking ever, 20 years. I think he's in. I mean, I don't think it's a slam dunk. Oh, just kidding. He pitched for 22 years. I don't think it's a slam dunk, but no, I had it right. 20 years, but he got traded midseason. So it looks like it's.
Yeah, they would break that up.
I don't think it's a slam dunk, but he should get in. His numbers say that he should get in. The only thing is his ERA is a little high at the 3.4.
Yeah, but you had CC get in at 3.75. So
yeah, but that's also at CC Sabathia.
I mean, true. And it's the Yankees. It's the whole Yankees thing.
Yeah, and Joey Votto in that class. We love him. Love
Joey Votto. He might be one of my favorite ball players of all time.
I just don't think he's there, unfortunately. 63.6 WAR, which is damn good.
It is.
Right? He has an MVP in there.
He does.
He's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 All-Stars, finished second Rookie of the Year, but his overall number is just 2,100 hits, 356 home runs. I mean, 294 batting average is nothing to sneeze at.
It's just not enough.
Yeah, and under 1,200 RBIs. So
Edward, book it now. Tom Brady, Expos Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
John, you're right. I saw this article too. I was going to bring it up later in the show. That Brett Gardner's 14-year-old son passed away after getting sick on a family vacation.
Oh, dang.
And Gardner's one of those guys who I think everybody around the league liked. He was just a likable guy, hardworking guy. And the amount of, I'm sure, the outpouring of support he's getting because of that is probably quite a bit.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's awful.
All right, Nelson Cruz. Here we go. 464 home runs, 274 batting average, 1,325 RBIs, 42 WAR. Now that I look at it and break it down, I'm not sure. I
think he's short.
I do too. He definitely will get consideration. He'll get some votes, but I don't think he gets enough. Because who else is in that class with him?
So which year is he in?
That was a 2029 one.
Yeah, so 2029 is Cabrera, Greinke, Votto, and then it's Wainwright, Longoria, Bumgarner, Michael Brantley, Josh Donaldson, Corey Kluber, and Elvis Andrus. I don't know that any of those other guys below the headliners will have a real shot.
You don't think Wainwright?
No. He's another 200 win guy.
Yeah, but I think we're going to start seeing these guys with low win totals get in because we're just not seeing the wins.
You know what I mean? I mean, the problem with Wainwright is if you put him in, you got to put Lester in.
No, you don't. The Hall can put in whoever they want.
Well, they can, but if you're going to say that he was a Hall of Famer and Lester wasn't, then you're going to have a hard time making that argument because Lester's career line and Wainwright's career line are like
exactly the
very
same.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wainwright was 200 wins, 128 losses with a 353. Lester was 200 and 117 with a 366. I mean, they are very much the same guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't disagree with you. But
so, I mean, I don't think Lester gets in, so I don't think Wainwright gets in.
Yeah. See, I think Wainwright gets in because Molina's in.
I mean, they are kind of a package deal.
And they, and Lester gets the shaft. I mean, the same reason why Alan Trammell's in and Lou Whitaker's not. Right? I mean, what those guys did up the middle is ridiculous.
Yeah, you can't ignore one without the other.
Right. And it's so the Hall, I mean, as much as we sit here and like to talk about the Hall of Fame, it is a joke to me. It really is. But
yeah, I mean, it's not great.
No. So, yeah, I mean, Bumgarner was absolutely dominant until he crashed his dirt bike.
Yeah, he was absolutely nails for the Giants in the playoffs. I mean, guy coming in and pitching out of the bullpen on his day off, like the dude was absolutely nails in those World Series runs, but he just didn't do it long enough.
Yeah, because he'd rather ride a dirt bike like Fernando Tatis.
Yeah, so. Well, and then went to the Diamondbacks and the whole thing just fell apart.
Yeah.
That was a disaster for the D-backs.
Brutal.
But yeah, I mean, I think the 2026 and 2027 ballots are pretty blah, but I think you got some seriously good stuff coming after that.
Yeah, I think you get some veteran committee guys in there for sure.
Yeah, and I think a couple guys currently sitting on the ballot get boosted and get in. So I think for a guy like Carlos Beltran, if you're going to get in, this is going to be the year.
This has probably one shot.
Yeah, if you don't get in now, you're not getting in.
I thought for sure Andrew Jones was going to get in this year.
Me too.
I looked at what was coming. It was like, yeah, Ichiro's an absolute slam dunk. No duh. Like, should have been unanimous. Wasn't.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then who else got in? It was Helton and Wagner.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, if this is the year for Andrew Jones to get in, it's this one. And for him to still fall short was, I think, an absolute travesty.
I mean, thankfully his support shot up, and hopefully he'll get more support. But
yeah,
I think there are people that cannot get over his candidacy, and I don't understand. Yeah, so Beltran finished at 70.3%. So you need 75% to get in.
Yeah.
Beltran was at 70.3. Andrew Jones is at 66.2.
I don't know. 9% is a lot to kind of make up there in your last year.
I mean, it is, but he also was at 10% the year before that. So, I mean, that was a pretty good run. And then, sadly, Omar Vizquel got 17.8% of the vote. He got fewer votes than Manny Ramirez, Andy Pettit, A-Rod, all the steroids guys.
Yeah.
Vizquel stands no shot, and it's going to be a tragedy that the Veterans Committee has to save him.
I wonder if the writers, I don't know what their voting processes are individually, but I wonder if they look at the class and compare them to other people in that class. Because we talked about, you can't compare Omar Vizquel to, say, Carlos Beltran. They're two completely different players.
Yep.
But they're both elite and they're what they did. Right? I just hope that's not how they do their voting.
So there's a Hall of Fame ranking system Bill James created. It's called the Hall of Fame Monitor. And it's a number, over 100 means you're likely to get elected. Under 100 means you're not. So it's literally just like an algorithm all based on math. Omar Vizquel's monitor rating is 120, so he's more likely to get in than not. Billy Wagner's 107, he got in. CC's 128, he got in. He's right in that same range. And when you look down the ballot, aside from the steroids guys, the two guys with the best case after the guys that got in this year are Beltran and Vizquel.
Where's Andrew Jones sit on that?
Andrew Jones is actually behind. He's at 109. He's behind Vizquel in terms of ranked order.
But he's still over 100.
Yeah, and then K Rod's at 124. Yeah, so Andrew Jones is at 109, so he's much closer to kind of flip a coin.
I think with Wagner getting in, it might open the door for K Rod here.
I think we talked about that. You know, if you take Wagner, you kind of now have to take K Rod.
437 saves. I mean, 2.86 ERA and 976 innings. Yeah, and he has the record, the all-time saves record in a single season.
K Rod's got more saves than Wagner. Slightly, he's got a higher ERA, half a run higher, but he's got more saves, and that's really kind of the ultimate measuring stick of a closer.
Yeah.
You know, he also did it in more games, but still.
Yeah, he still saved 62 games in one season.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, dang. Well, thanks for sending us down that rabbit hole there for a hot minute. But
we could do a whole show on this because I think
for sure
that they just keep screwing the Hall of Fame up every year.
Yeah. So, yeah. If in the chat, if you had to pick one random team that could be an absolute dark horse this year and make a deep playoff run, who would you choose?
Yeah, who's the team nobody's talking about that could make a run?
Do you have one, Harrison?
It's hard because I don't think like nobody's talking about them. But I do think like my deep sleeper team in the National League is the Reds. Like I think the Reds are I think, and you're already in on them.
Yeah.
I feel like it's too soon. But that Reds team is so talented and so deep, and now with Francona, I think they're my sleeper team. In the American League, I think the Guardians are my sleeper team. Like I think that is still a really good team. I think they're going to surprise people.
Yeah.
But like I don't think people are saying like they're no good, but I do think that they are not getting enough attention for what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, John, I mean, Mariners could be. That staff could absolutely just be lights out and carry them. And they could.
Yeah.
And the Tigers.
They almost did it last year.
Yeah. I'm with you on the Tigers in the AL. I think the Tigers could be I think they're still considered a dark horse because I mean that run they went on last summer, no one saw that coming.
No.
The Tigers themselves didn't even see that coming.
No, they traded Jack Flaherty away thinking their season was done.
There was a story
packing it in.
There was a story we talked about. Like they were in the clubhouse like at the end of August and they go, "Oh shit. Like we're in this, fellas." Like they didn't even realize. Like it didn't even click. And they're like, we're in this. And then they made that run. And yeah, I think they could be for sure. Now that they got Flaherty back, they got that number 2 behind Skubal. I think Tigers are there. I kind of hate I'm going to say this, but the Blue Jays have to get there at some point, right?
I was waiting for you to bring up the Blue Jays.
They do. They just like so long they've been there, and you just think like at one point this is going to click, right? Like they have the pieces to do it. I don't know. I'm still taking the Tigers over the Blue Jays for it to click, but like at some point it has to for the Blue Jays, right? With who they got on their team.
I mean, they're too good to continue to not be good. Like there's so much talent on that roster with, Vladdy and Bichette and Santander and Springer, Kirk, and you've finally
got Jimenez.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's right. You picked up Jimenez too and all that. And then on top of that, like your rotation, you've got, Barrios and you've got Gosman and you've got Bowden Francis, who's looking like a stud.
Bassett.
Like you have talent there. The bullpen's kind of a question mark, but that's the case for like half the teams out there. But I mean, you look at that roster and you go, man, this is a good team, but like consistently year after year, they don't perform. And it's like, what is wrong in Toronto?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. National League. I really do. I'm with you with the Reds. I think they could be. I think it's a really dark horse for the Reds, but I'm picking them there over the Brewers. But I think the Brewers could also make a run at it. I mean, we always count them out, but what they got going up in Milwaukee, they got a lot of young kids. Brandon Woodruff's coming back. They could make a serious run at it. I think, but they're a dark horse for sure. And anybody else really?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think everybody else, I think we're looking at some of the races, like in the AL West, where you've got a lot of teams that are potentially in on that.
Yeah,
I think you've got a fair amount of teams now. Do you look at teams that can make the playoffs, teams that can win a World Series? Because the could make the playoffs is way larger than they could win the World Series.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I mean, to make the playoffs, I would say we can start with that.
Yeah, because I think to make the playoffs, you've got a number of teams that you've got. You could argue that most of the AL West is in play.
I think all of the AL West is in play, to be completely honest.
I mean, I think the Angels and A's aren't there yet, but they're not that far off. So you're at least 3 teams deep in the AL West, maybe 4, maybe 5. You look at the AL Central, you're at least 14. You're 4 teams deep there. The Twins may surprise people. That's still a good team. They just have to be healthy and get on the field.
Yeah,
it's not an issue of talent with them. It's an issue of health. And then the American League East, I'd say you're at least 3, if not 4 teams deep there.
Yeah.
I think the issue is the National League talent level has risen. The American League talent level has fallen, but it's leveled off quite a bit. You get to the NL, you're 3 teams deep in the NL East. Your Cubs, Brewers, Reds, probably 3 deep in the NL Central, and you're 3 deep in the NL West.
Yeah. Could the Giants make a run?
I don't think. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Could they? Yeah, they could. I mean, they added the Adames. They've got a great pitching staff. You popped Verlander in there. If he's anything like he used to be, that's a big addition. That's gonna be a good team. But they're probably gonna win 84 games, 85 games because. I mean, maybe they're closer to 500 because of the division that they're in. They're going to have to play the friggin' Diamondbacks, Padres, and Dodgers a dozen times each.
Well, they had that random 107 win season in 2021.
That was a fluke, though. That was one of those.
That was crazy.
That was like the Tigers making the playoffs last year. They just got crazy hot, and nobody could explain why.
Yeah, they were.
But then you've got players like Duvall who've completely fallen off.
Yeah.
So much so he's not even the closer anymore.
Right.
They've got their own set of problems, but you got Chapman, Adames. You still haven't fully addressed the open issues that you have, but it's still a good team. So I mean, I guess you could say, could they make a run at a wild card? Maybe, but you'd have to have 4 teams come out of the West.
Imagine that,
or have the Padres or Diamondbacks just belly up this year. I think it's a hard path for the Giants. And again, the Giants are very much a victim of the division that they're in because you put them in the NL Central, they probably win it.
Right.
It's just that NL West is a friggin' gauntlet.
Yeah, agree. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to throw in for this week?
So I already mentioned the Brett Gardner thing. Obviously, that's incredibly sad news about a great baseball guy. One other thing that came up that kind of got me interested was that there's a lot of discussion right now around some potential travel bans related to visas. And MLB's actually come out and made some statements about their concern about this because they're going to look at banning visas from certain countries. Cuba and Venezuela are 2 in particular. If that's the case, MLB players are not going to be able to leave the U.S. to be able to come back in. So if you have Venezuelan players in your team and you go to Toronto, you fly to Toronto for a game, they're not going to let you fly home. So it might be situations where players have to not travel to certain cities, mainly Toronto, or if you're playing in if there's the games down in Mexico, if you're playing outside of the United States, you may not be able to travel to those games because you won't be allowed to come home. So there's still a lot of stuff to be figured out there, but that's popped on everybody's radar the last couple of days.
Dang.
Trying to figure out what that travel ban might look like and are there any exceptions to it.
Well, and let's hope that changes between now and the WBC.
Yeah, if you get in this position next year, you're screwed. The WBC is over before it starts.
Dang.
That's going to be something to keep an eye on.
Damn. That's terrible. I feel bad for the players there.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
It really kind of sucks when this stuff gets captured in all the political crossfire. But I mean, I don't know what you do. I don't know how you navigate that, but I'm assuming that, MLB is not a small group. They're going to get the attention of the White House, and hopefully there's some stuff that can be figured out.
Yeah. Damn. That's crazy. All right. Anything else? Are you good?
I'm good. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, John, we're with you. I'm sure it'll get figured out. It's a shame that it has to be figured out, though.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, the intent of this is not to stop people from coming back. It's stop people from getting in.
Yeah.
And that's how do you sort out people that are already here? Like, there's a whole process to that. I'm sure everything is figure outable.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, again, thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys were incredible. Like you have been week after week after week. Like this is why we do it. It's because of you guys. We appreciate all the interactions in the chat. We love talking baseball with you guys, the fans, as we are fans ourselves. But the next time you will see our faces, we will have some MLB games under our belts, fellas. Yes. Let's go.
Cannot wait.
So we will be on Thursday night. We might be live watching games all over the place. So we might be scatterbrained on Thursday night, but we will be here. We'll be watching games all over the place. So come and join us. Come tell us how excited you are that baseball is officially back. We want to hear all about it. Or how terrible the Red Sox are doing, or your team. Enter your team of choice.
Like the Mariners.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
Yeah. So you can come celebrate with us, come complain with us, do whatever you want to do on Thursday night. But we will be back on Thursday night, maybe 8 o'clock. I don't know. We'll see. 8:30, 9 o'clock, but somewhere in there.
Remember, Thursday night we got to place our parlay bets. Like Thursday's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh,
and then keep in mind, this is the time of year now. If there's games, keep your eye on the page. We may just pop on because there's a good game to watch. So keep your eyes peeled. Our schedule, we may be on more often just because we're watching baseball and we might as well hang out with you guys.
Oh, hell yeah, John. This is awesome. I love that for you. That's great. After 8 years of radio only, he gets to watch the game. That's sick, dude. I'm happy for you. That's awesome.
Nice. I hope they're good so that your first season getting to watch them, it's worth watching.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah. I mean, you guys have been incredible. So we appreciate you coming back. Appreciate you being on for both shows, Edward. So it was pretty awesome. Yep. So, yeah, absolutely love it.
Keep your eyes on the page. You never know when we're going to pop up.
Yes, absolutely. So until then, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow on Instagram, Rumble, TikTok, all of those platforms. Listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you Thursday night, opening day. Let's go. We got some baseball coming.
Can't wait. See you all Thursday to talk some more baseball.
See you guys.
See ya.